Hey guys, welcome back. So today we are doing a very large painting. I haven't done one of these in quite some time. This is probably one of the largest paintings I've ever made, but it's a commission piece for one of my friends. He is actually dating one of Hillary's coworkers. Him and I have spoken a handful of times. We got on the topic of me being a painter, being an artist, and he wanted to get a piece commissioned. And so that's what we're going to do today. So the piece that he wanted commissioned was uh, essentially this. So this is DJ Vastiv is his name, and my friend, he's a big fan of his, and he's gone to a few of his sets before, and he wanted something similar to that photo painted. So once again, I'll show you kind of what's going on. He wanted something similar to this painted, fairly large. So I had been talking with him back and forth, working some things out, kind of based on sizes of canvases. And I already had a canvas that was 16 inches tall and 40 inches wide, which is not the correct proportions for this photo. But I used this photo as a reference, scaled it down properly, and then we're going to get started on this painting. So him and I have been in contact pretty much this whole time. We're both on the same page, and I'm at this point 98% finished. I never think to record these in the moment because I'm just so focused on the paintings, but we're almost done at the point that I'm recording this voiceover. But I'm going to take you through the whole set, the whole painting process. I think I'm going to do this in two different forms though. I'll have one that is probably my normal, where you see every brushstroke that I do, it's just really sped up, but that is going to be kind of long. So I'm also going to do one where it's all real time, but I kind of cut to different parts of it, like some other videos I've seen in the past. So I might use the same intro for both of them. I don't know yet, but we'll see how that goes. This one, at least for now, is going to be for the cut up real-time painting. Maybe I'll do a different intro for the other one, or maybe it'll be the same intro. You'll know by the time you're watching this what I chose. So it is what it is. We'll get right into it. First step is going to be priming the canvas properly and then getting kind of a base layer down. So I'll explain that and then I'll let you see what's going on. The first step is to, well, my canvas is pre-primed. Naturally, if you don't have a pre-primed canvas, you want to prime your canvas first, but that's already been done for me. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do some block-ins. So I'm initially going to just smear a bunch of paint very loosely with a lot of water all over the whole canvas. I'm going for a couple different colors. And then once that's done, then I can refine my block-in so I can get kind of the basic shape and form and values of all my whole painting before I get into the actual colors that are going to be finalized. So let's jump into that, and I'll probably jump back in and explain what's going on while that's happening. So now that my initial wash layer has gone in, I can start with the blocking in phase. So the first thing that I'm going to do is actually going to be to wipe away some of my paint while it's still wet. I've got a slightly damp towel, and you'll see when I get to this part that I'm going to wipe away all the things that I think need to be in highlights. And that's just going to let me have a good base to start from. And then after I do the highlights, I'll block in the shadows behind them, so that I can have kind of a mid-tone, which is covering the whole canvas, and then I can work up and down from there as I see fit without having to get into the white yet, without having to worry about darkening colors too much. I'll just use more intense colors, less water, so I don't have to worry too much about overdoing this stage. This is a block-in phase. It's not supposed to be finalized. It's just supposed to give me an idea so that I can see kind of the whole painting as one piece. So let's jump into that. So when I paint this, I'm going to want the background to be darker than Vastiv himself so that he stands out in front of the crowd that's behind him. So in this phase, I'm not going to worry about painting a crowd, but you'll see me now darkening the things that are behind him, especially behind the letters, so they seem really bright, because in the final painting, they're going to be basically white, and I want them to kind of glow. And so that's what I'm going to do here. Just darken the background around him. Not, once again, making dark colors, just making them more opaque. Doing the same thing to him now. He's got dark hair, he's got a black t-shirt on, so just a little darker areas that I know what's going to be really dark, so I can get a good idea for the overall contrast and value composition of the piece. So now that I have finished that first step, that blocking in layer, I've got to let the whole painting dry before I can get onto anything else. And I was pretty much done for that day. I don't have, I think I did this on a Monday or a Sunday, and I had some plans later in the day. So I wasn't planning on spending all day working on this. It's been a multiple day event. So that took me a couple hours to do, maybe an hour and a half. I'm not exactly sure how long, but I did that, and then I came back to it another day. So here's a photo of it when I finished with the first layer, the blocking in. And now this next layer is going to be my first finish layer. This is where I've already done the value work in my head, right? I can see what's light, what's dark with the blocking in layer. Now I'm going to put colors over top of that and try to follow that to the best of my ability and keep things close to the values that I plan for them to be, so that it all seems balanced in the end. So we're going to jump right into that, and we'll check in if I feel like I need to tell you anything. So because this is the first finished layer, I'm not intending to get a crazy detailed everything at this stage. For example, I'm going to start the crowd now. I painted the whole background, not black, but really dark, kind of reddy, blue, purpley. It's varied in color, but I used a lot of black, a lot of red, a lot of blue, some brown, some yellow. Just kind of keep it vibrant, keep it interesting. But now I have to go ahead and add in my crowd. That's one of the things that the guy that I'm working with was really certain that he wanted. He wanted to make sure the crowd was in the painting. And so for my first layer for the crowd, I'm not going to sit here and paint 500 people. You know what I mean? So I'm going to do some marks that to me will vaguely resemble kind of relatively crowd looking shapes, and we can refine later. This is the first detail or first finish layer, so I'm not worried about super precise details right now. So along with the crowd at this stage, I'm going to go ahead and put some of the background details in: trees, the lights, kind of his little stage setup that he's got going on. And then you notice I'm not painting Vastiv himself yet, and so that's going to be my next step. And so when I get to that stage, I'm going to go ahead and start with him. So like I said, here we are at the Vastiv portion of this painting process. Still the first finished layer, but we got to go ahead and get some colors in for him himself. Like I said before, I think I mentioned earlier, he's got a black shirt on. His hair's basically black, very dark. So I can kind of use those to give me an idea of where everything else needs to be. And I don't have a paint that says skin color, right? Skin is not one solid color. You can see I've got lots of imperfections in my skin. So I'm constantly mixing colors to get the skin kind of where I need it to be. And you'll see that in this next phase here. I'll get skin painted and I'll get a shirt painted and some rough detailing that I can then come back later and refine. And so I'm sure you've noticed by now, the final thing that I have to do is actually paint these letters. Now, in the sample photo that he gave me, the letters are white. I'm going to keep them that way because I think it looks good for the painting's sake. It's a nice contrast to everything else that's going on. And so we'll paint the letters white, and then basically that's going to be it for today, I'm pretty sure. So this is what I would call the refining stage, or the second finish layer, or you could call it all kinds of things. But this is my third day working on this painting. And up to this point, I am 95% done. And so everything else from here on is going to be me jumping around and painting things that I don't think fit in the painting yet, or that I think are a little too bland, not specific enough. So, for example, this crowd doesn't kind of really give crowd yet to me. So, I'm going to refine some of that. I'm going to work on some of his colors on his shirt, make it a little more interesting, maybe darken some shadows where I think they need to be darkened, refine some shapes. I know that I don't really like his right arm right now. I'm going to change some of the colors and tones in that. So, this stage is really jumping around and backing up every once in a while and making sure that I see the whole painting as one piece together, and finding the regions that are a little below everything else and pulling them all up one at a time. Like when you take off a glove, you don't just pull it all off at once. You got to pull a finger, pull a finger, pull a finger. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm pulling each of the fingers on this glove off slowly so that I can get the whole thing off, i.e., the whole painting, to a finished state that I'm happy with, that I'm ready to sign. So let's get into that. So at the time of filming this portion where I'm talking over, that's how far I've gotten so far. I'm up to everything you've seen so far, and me right now is at the same time. And so I'm almost finished. Like I said earlier, I'm 98% done, but I don't think it's 100% perfect yet. And nothing's ever going to be 100% perfect, but I think there's still little bits that I can kind of pull up to the same finish level as everything else. So I don't know when or what I'm going to do, but basically, I've got this painting sitting somewhere where I see it all the time. I'm walking past it constantly, and that's going to help me to notice little things that I don't think are perfect yet. For example, I know I'll probably do some more work on his table. As you know, he's got all of his tools of his trade that he works with, and makes his music and switches into different songs and all the things that you have to do for a DJ set. And so I don't think that is really at a level of finish that I'm happy with yet, but I haven't figured out how I'm going to get it there. So I'm going to look at it and walk around, let it sit around the house so that I can see it and figure out what I want to do with it before I call this a finished piece. Because the last thing we want is for me to rush it to completion and then I give it to the person and they love it, and then they start noticing little things about it they don't like, and 5 years from now they absolutely hate it because all they see are the imperfections. So I want to make sure that I'm not noticing any imperfections before I give this to my client. And I'll do the same thing with him. I'm gonna tell him, hey, here's what I've got so far. Let me know if there's anything else you want me to touch up or change. I can do that. Tell me now, though, instead of sitting on it for 2 years until you absolutely hate the painting and no longer want it. So I'm going to let this sit around. I'll work on it probably another 2 to 3 hours, I think, overall painting time, but I just haven't gotten to that stage yet where I'm ready to make those decisions and finalize this painting. So when I do that, I'll get back to you and we'll just finish this for here and we'll move on to the next bit. So here it is hanging up in the hallway. I walk past this hall every day. My bedroom's back over there. The living room's back over here. So I've just got it sitting up here. It's kind of hard to get it all in, but I'm walking past it every day. Like I said, I probably want to do some more work to this stuff here, make it look a little more interesting. But I'm going to let it sit, walk past it all the time so that I know exactly what I want to do to it before I go ahead and finish it. So basically, whenever I'm ready to make the changes that I need to make, or whenever I think of the changes I want to make, I'll kind of jot them down, make little notes for myself. For example, this is on my list. I may want to refine some more of this. I may want to obscure this a little bit more. This is like, I think it is the speaker for his set, but I just don't really like the way that looks there. So I may obscure it a little bit more. But basically, I'm going to go ahead and walk around. Whenever I see something that I don't like, I'll take a little note of it. And at some point, I'll come back and I'll do all these touch-ups that I need to do. And then you guys will see that portion. And then we can call it a finished painting. Okay, so we are almost done. I've made a few adjustments. This is a PSA on the importance of references. I only had the one reference photo that I've been using for this whole thing. I couldn't really tell what was going on his table and with his speakers. So I went and I found the set from which this photo was taken, and I have adjusted things. So let me run you through what I'm going to make adjustments to, and then we'll call this done. So the speaker I didn't really like, I think was because it was too straight. You see, it's kind of straight up here, and that's not very good. They're actually more curved than that. So I went in ahead with a white crayon and I adjusted some things. So I've done that here. You can see that I've got some more curves going on. Same deal with this side. I'm going to put another one over here. It's going to cover up some of the background, but it is what it is. And then I went ahead and he actually posted his own video of his set. And so I got some good clips of what the table looks like. And so we're going to have a turntable here and some legs. And then I'm going to put a pattern on this bottom table. There's also going to be a turntable here as well. Same deal, legs underneath it. And then I'm going to adjust the letters, which I want to do, and add some highlights to the top of his shirt here, just for my own sake. And that's going to be everything. So let's get to it.
It's trying to rain. I gotta go inside fast.
All right, so I've made my adjustments. You can see we've added some more details to the DJ booth. I've fixed the speakers on either side, and I've done some more work to the lettering. Very happy with our result here. Try to get it in the camera for you. The only thing that I have left to do is to put a finish layer on top of it. I need a gloss varnish to do so. I don't have any gloss varnish with me at the house, but I'm going to get a brush on varnish because it just stands the test of time better. So I'll run to Michael's, I'll get that, and then we're going to call this painting done. And I'll contact Chase, the guy who I'm making it for, and we'll get his reaction. So stay tuned for that. All right, guys, so here is the first coat of my varnish layer. I'm going to do, so whenever you're applying a varnish, you always want to apply it in one direction. So the first coat, I went like this. So I have to let that dry for like 3 hours to make sure it's completely dry. And then I'm going to apply another one horizontally across the whole thing, and then maybe one more vertically after that. But I don't know if you can tell much of a difference, but I know in person, the darks are much more rich. The colors kind of stand out a little better. So the varnish coat is definitely a go-to. I went with satin. So it's kind of in between matte and gloss. It's not super shiny, but it's also, sometimes matte can kind of be a little milky and you lose some of the sharpness. So this is kind of a happy medium between the two. If I put you underneath here, you can see it's still wet, so it's a little shinier, but this is satin. So if I were to use gloss, it would be even glossier and even more reflective. And so satin's kind of a good area for me. I'm happy with the way that this looks. So I'm going to put a couple more coats on this and then we're done. So thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. If you did enjoy this video, hit the like, subscribe, ring the bell, leave a comment. Let me know how you feel about this process, this style of video. This is the chopped up real-time version. I'm also going to be doing one that's more custom to my normal stuff, a lot more similar to how I normally do it, where I have kind of the talking head sections and the whole process is sped through at like 10 times instead of real time being chopped through it. So if you wouldn't mind, watch that one too when it comes out, maybe later this week, maybe next week, something like that. I know it's going to be the same thing essentially, but views are nice. But yeah, thank you guys once again. I really appreciate it. I'll see you in the next one.